Good morning. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Very well. I want to thank you all for coming out and being flexible with us on yesterday, given the storms that we had here in the area. We're grateful that lives were spared and there wasn't serious property damage nor damage, of course, to those that could have been injured. We're thankful for our first responders and all that they have done, and we certainly want to offer our hope that everybody recovers well with what damage did happen, and certainly to our friends in Dothan, Mayor Saliba and others, we're grateful that that school roof collapse wasn't more serious. So I want to just start right there. Next, I want to start on an issue that I know is very important before I get to some of the more city-focused issues on public safety, economic development, and others, about our public schools. And I want to start with the challenge that we have with our public schools right now as we search for a new leader. I think it's incumbent that the community be more informed and more engaged about just how important the selection of a superintendent is for our school system. It's been rife with a lot of back and forth here recently, but I think that our schools, our students, our parents, and teachers deserve better than the way that the majority on the board have conducted this search. We all have a vested interest in the schools. I'm a parent of 2 school children in MPS. I'm a graduate of MPS, a proud graduate of MPS. So I want to see the best for Montgomery Public Schools. No different than when we led the initiative to pass the property tax increase for the first time in this county's history. The county had never voted to pass our property tax increase for more resources for our schools, which I think they need. We also need the leadership and the stability, both from the superintendent to the board level, to make sure that happens. But in order to bring that about, we have to ensure that we are doing things that are building confidence in our partners here in our public schools. So whether that's governmental partners at the city, county, and state level, whether it's our partners in the private sector, whether it's our faith leaders, whether it's our grassroots leaders, whether it's our military partners, and certainly those businesses that have announced investments here and those that we are trying every hour, every day to get to consider Montgomery. We have to make sure that we have their confidence. And right now, that confidence is not in the school board. It's not in the search, and it's not in the candidates that they brought forward. The candidates may be very nice people. They seem to be very nice, but it's a matter of how the search has been conducted and the lack of transparency, which has led to the distrust in this process. So I want to urge the school board to press pause on this search, not act out of emotion or not act out of politics, but act out of a sense of responsibility to this community, to those who have kids and grandkids in the community, to those who don't and never have, but want to see our school system flourish. We owe it to them to really bring a better pool of candidates, to really be more transparent in those candidates and how the search is conducted, and not do things behind closed doors and not do things that sow the seeds of distrust and concern throughout our community. And as the mayor of the city, as the CEO of the city of Montgomery, I'm called to speak for those who have spoken to me. And I'll be willing to place my hand on the Bible under oath and testify to the information I've been given by those who know far more about education than I do, but also to those who have been around these type of searches and these type of processes, not just here in Montgomery County, but throughout the state, that do not believe that we're bringing forth the best options to this community. That is something that we need to be very deliberate about, and something we need to be very diligent about, and not be caught in emotions or caught in egos as it relates to how we move forward. Our schools, public education is too important to every facet of what we do, not only as a city, but as a county, as a region, as a state and beyond, for us to force a candidate that a slim majority, and I emphasize the word a slim majority, on the board fully believe should be our next leader. I think it's a recipe for failure, and that's just something we cannot afford. And more importantly, that's something that our students in Montgomery Public Schools can't afford either. So I hope that between now and the next meeting, there will be a reconsideration from our school board leaders to come back to the table with partners in the community to rebuild the trust and to talk about how we can move forward in a transparent manner in terms of who we select and how we go about doing that so that we don't have to deal with the consequences of erroneous choices and what that may bring to all of us and the impact it may have on our students, parents, teachers, and staff in Montgomery Public Schools. So with that, I want to now turn my attention to the news around public safety and what we have seen now that we've gotten through the first 3 months of this year. And what we have seen in our community is encouraging. We're in no way celebrating. We're in no way being complacent. But it is encouraging to see some of the positive trends that we're seeing around our community. I want to start by citing a few statistics that show that overall crime is down almost 16%. Violent crime is down nearly 25%. Nonviolent crime is down nearly 14%. Homicides are down about 7.5%, with non-fatal shootings down around 27%. So we can see that the hard work of our officers, our investigators, Montgomery Area Crime Suppression Unit, community partners, Office of Violence Prevention, and faith leaders, and just good neighbors is helping us in these capacities. I also want to thank those who are calling for conflict resolution and de-escalating situations before they get to a point where people feel like they have to use a firearm to settle a dispute. I want to thank everyone who's been involved in this process because it is one that's ongoing. It is one that we're looking for different solutions, and we're looking for a multitude of voices to help us save lives, to make sure that we aren't impacting lives and people in this community in a negative way. We want this to be a safe community, whether you're on the east side of Montgomery or you're on the north side of Montgomery or anywhere in between. Regardless of what type of house or what size house you live in, we want this to be a safe city, and we want to do everything we can to make sure we do just that. And so far we've been able to seize more than 600 illegal firearms already, including 12 Glock switches, illegal devices that turn handguns into machine guns capable of firing dozens of rounds in seconds. And I want to thank the Alabama legislature for passing a bill that finally makes possession of these devices a state crime with harsher penalties. I've stood at this podium and I've stood before these cameras over the last year and a half and asked where was the responsibility, where was the accountability in the Alabama legislature. I want to say that they have stepped forward. I want to thank State Representative Phil Insler. I want to thank State Senator Will Barfoot for leading the cause from right here in Montgomery. I want to thank the Alabama Big Ten Mayors Association, the Alabama League of Municipalities for helping us advance this bill, and others who participate, the grassroots organizations who participated in helping us take this step. And so while it's certainly an important step, it's not the only step that we can take, and we'll be advocating for more. But I certainly want to give thanks to all those groups, and certainly the legislature and Governor Ivey for signing that bill into law. Because we know that we have had far too many tragic and preventable shootings because of unsecured weapons, and we know that we have to make sure that we're responding with responsible policy. So again, thank you to everybody, and let's keep up the work the rest of this session and each and every day of this year to make sure we're making our city and our community, our state, safer for each and every person that lives and works here. Now, to investment in our city, something that we've been talking about for a number of years. We're finally starting to see, the the fruit of our labor when it comes to these community centers. We're going to be reopening the Crump and Chisholm community centers with a renovated and reimagined posture ready to serve our community. These aren't just new buildings, but they are part of our overall investment in our city and in our community. These are places where kids can learn, where seniors can stay active, and where families can connect to opportunity, from everything from card games to e-gaming to bridal showers to birthdays. We want our community centers full and filled with people right in our city. But we also want job training, mentoring, after-school programs, financial literacy programs. These centers will give residents a place where they can grow and thrive. They are a direct investment in prevention and in equity and in community. And so we'll be hosting ribbon cuttings at both centers very soon while we tidy up a few of the other community centers with some tweaks and some corrections that we have to make before we can cut the ribbon for those. But we're excited about this because it's been with taxpayer dollars that we went to the bond market a few years ago to renovate what the community was telling us. And through the cost of goods going up and everything changing as it relates to building materials and new construction, we stayed the course of producing what I think will be top-tier, best-in-class community centers that stand next to any community center anywhere in this state. And we're not done. We want to make sure that we're looking at maybe new community centers over the next several years as soon as we get through phase 1 and phase 2 of this project, because we know there are gaps in where community centers are located throughout this city. But it is good to see these first 2 come online, renovated, and I won't get too far ahead of myself before we cut these ribbons, but just showing the excitement that we have, and I believe what it'll bring to these neighborhoods is very important. And that leads me to another public-private partnership, something that I've advocated for many years, and that is the Neighborhood-Based Solutions Harlem Children's Zone Academy. A few weeks ago, I had the honor of joining mayors from across the country at the Mayor's Neighborhood Academy, hosted by the Harlem Children's Zone and the National League of Cities. We spent 2 days in New York City learning how HCZ has broken the cycle of poverty in Central Harlem, using a cradle-to-career model that supports children and families at every stage of life. We heard directly from Jeff Canada and Kwame Owusu-Kise and national experts who showed us how cities can align housing, healthcare, education, and employment into one powerful system of support. The lesson was clear. When you focus on people and you focus on the neighborhoods that surround them, you can change outcomes, and most importantly, you can change their future. And here in Montgomery, we're already applying that thinking through Montgomery Forward and through data-driven policy and through investments in youth and families. So you'll hear more about this initiative, and you'll get a chance to meet Jeff Canada and his team as we talk about how we bring place-based solutions to Montgomery and what we can extrapolate from best practices from cradle to career initiatives, encompassing workforce development, encompassing education, encompassing healthcare, and how those of us here in Montgomery can partner with those in the city of New York, in particular Harlem, and their partners to bring best outcomes to our residents and in our neighborhoods right here. Something I'm really, really excited about. It's something that I'm really proud to have a partnership with and to be aligned with someone like Dr. Canada. But it's so important for us to understand that sometimes you have to reach beyond the bounds of City Hall and sometimes even our city limits to accelerate our progress that we need. And these type of public-private partnerships are things that we have put a focus on. You know, when we think about government, a lot of things companies that come forward with us come from the space of transparency and innovation. What is City Hall doing in the area of transparency, and how are we being innovative? Part of building a better city means building trust. That's why last week we relaunched our open data portal, a major milestone in our work with the Bloomberg City Data Alliance and the Harvard City Leadership Initiative. This portal gives residents, researchers, and businesses access to real-time city data from permitting and paving to policing and project delivery. It's powered by a cross-departmental team including planning, engineering, inspections, and more than 20 departments who understand that transparency is not optional.
I'm sorry, it looks like the mic may have gone out.
Oh.
We have a wire.
Maybe the battery's out on that? Stick them up?
Probably have a backup just for these reasons.
That's probably it. There it goes. That's back on now. Energizer when it croaked.
Why you gotta have the backup? Y'all tell me where you need me to go back to, and I'll go back to it if we miss some of that.
I started at the top of that.
See if media is available.
Yes.
That too, for sure.
Back.
We back?
Hi.
All right, so we finished community centers. We good on community centers?
Yeah.
So the Harlem Children's Zone?
I think Harvard shows came home. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We got the front end of it. I think it was just really, we were kind of wrapping that up with the
Okay,
outside of, yeah,
all right.
okay, yeah. Very good.
As we think about the progress we want to make in this community, it's important for us to keep in mind that public-private partnerships are essential. And so when we think about the Harlem Children's Zone and the record of success Jeff Canada has had, we're proud, again, to be a part of this cohort of mayors and cities, bringing outside investments and outside expertise to assist us in place-based solutions. That's why it's so important for us to understand that as we invest in people, we invest in neighborhoods, we invest in outcomes and their futures. So we'll have more on this when Dr. Canada comes to Montgomery to share his vision and why Montgomery was chosen and why we are a part of this and why it's important for us to seek these type of collaborations in education, in workforce development, job training, health outcomes, as well as just investing in people in our immediate community, in our immediate space, to try to change not only their futures, but the future of our collective community as a whole. So we're excited about that, and we're proud to be a part of it, and we look forward to work with them as we have with other collaborations, such as Harvard University. And that takes me to our open data portal, which is something that is often discussed when it comes to transparency and innovation. Part of our trust building efforts have been to make sure that the taxpayers and the community can see everything in real time and can understand just what's happening and how much it's costing and how long it's going to take in real time. And so last week we relaunched our open data portal, major milestone in our work with the Bloomberg City Data Alliance and the Harvard City Leadership Initiative. This portal gives residents, researchers, and businesses access to real-time city data, from permitting to paving to policing and project delivery. It's powered by a cross-departmental team including planning, engineering, inspections, and more than 20 departments who understand that transparency is not optional. It's essential. Montgomery is now a national model for how mid-sized cities can use data to improve services, track outcomes, and promote equity. Because when people can see how their government is performing, they believe in their government. So we want to continue to make sure people are aware of this. We'll ask all of our city councilors to talk about it at their neighborhood meetings. I'll be talking about it at a upcoming town hall. And we want to make sure that our neighborhood services department, and as well as our businesses, are tapped into this tool that we're using as well. Now, to get to my final topic, we want to talk about how we grow our city, how we grow our economy, even during challenging times like we're facing right now. We know that it's important that each and every one feels like they have an opportunity to live, learn, and at the end of that, earn. And for us to foster a better economic foundation, not only in our city, but in Central Alabama, we have to understand the data. We have to understand what's impacting people right here in Montgomery in particular, but certainly throughout our region. And earlier this month, we hosted the McKinsey Institute for Economic Mobility's first ever regional economic summit right here in Montgomery. We brought together over 100 stakeholders to examine the forces shaping our economy and to make sure that as we grow together. We talked about the state of economic mobility, and in particular that for Black residents especially, who have fallen behind and continue to remain behind as we look at mobility indicators in our city. We looked at how small businesses and emerging industries can drive new jobs. We focus on strategies to close the housing gap and support working families. Often when we think about housing, we don't think about the ancillary benefits of that. We don't think about housing creating jobs, housing being an economic driver, and housing also being an investment for many people who have not had an investment before that. It is most Americans' largest investment that they have. And so we're proud to say that we're adding new homes for the first time in well over 12 years. We're adding new homes in the missing middle area for working families, new homes and new type of homes that we've seen in other communities that we haven't had in Montgomery, which will not only help us grow our population, but it'll help us grow our economy. And it will help us grow our footprint as a city of making sure that we are a city for everyone, whether you're a top earner or whether you're just starting out. For those that are in the middle, that you have housing opportunities and housing options for you. But what the summit reaffirmed for us is something we've known for some time. Montgomery doesn't have to chase models from other places. We are becoming the model. So when you look at the work from our crime prevention to community centers, from national partnerships to our collaborations in education, from data to economic justice, you see the pattern. We're choosing action over apathy. We are choosing equity over excuses. We are choosing a future that belongs to all of us. This is how you build a city that works for everyone. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for coming out, for the role that you play in the free press. We thank you for covering the issues here in Montgomery, some good, some bad, some neutral, but we thank you for the work that you do, and we're grateful for all of our community partners who are engaged right here in our city and who understand that progress takes time, but it also takes work. You can't have one without the other. And together we are achieving that progress with each and everybody, and each and every person that is working collectively for the betterment of our city and our region. So thank you for that, and I'll open up to any questions that you may have at this time.
Just going back to education, you, the county commissioners, the city councilwoman, the chamber, kind of all on the same page on this superintendent search. Without naming any names, if there are any, is there any big thought of raising a hand for someone here locally to take over that position? Perhaps raise their hand and apply, if you will, for that position with that board?
Well, right now, the process won't allow for anyone, whether they be local or national, to apply for that position. That's why I urge the school board to press pause and get with State Superintendent Dr. Mackey and get with community leaders here from the business community, from state leadership and the state senate with State Senator Kirk Hatcher, to myself with County Commission Chairman Doug Singleton and City Council President Calhoun and Vice Chairman Carmen Moore-Ziegler, as well as our chamber leadership and our military leadership, to have a discussion about how we move forward. I think it's important for us to get it right as opposed to get it done. And right now there seems to be a forced effort to get it done, and I think in the end that doesn't bring the stability or the level of excellence that we need to our school system that justifies the investment that we asked the people of Montgomery County to make just a few years ago.
Do you know of anybody that if they were allowed to, you would say, hey, why don't you do this, we need you in this spot, without naming names? It's got to be folks here that you, the chamber, collectively give on it.
Well, I don't know anyone in particular. The way I look at it is it's about the process, and it's about the pool. And the process led to a limited pool, and thereby we have the finalists that exist right now. I do not think those that were in the final three and even maybe six were the only ones qualified for the position, who were interested in the position. And that's why, again, I think the process needs to be reevaluated, and I think the public deserves a fair shake. And the public has not gotten a fair shake on that, because I can tell you as an elected official, we haven't gotten a fair shake on it. And I want this part to be very clear. It's a slim majority on that board right now that wants to ram this through. And just in the interest of being practical about this, when you're bringing in someone like that, you want them to have a consensus. It may not be unanimous, but you want them to have a consensus of the majority of people that they will be reporting to. And right now, that doesn't exist even on the Montgomery Public Schools board. So we need to make sure that we aren't trying to ram this through for political or personal reasons, and that we're thinking about the reason that truly matters, and that is the education of our students, and that is the benefit of the teachers and staff and parents. And again, I'm one of those parents that has students in our schools, that we want to make sure the future of MPS is strong, whether you're in the military and you're considering coming here for your rotation at Air University, or whether you're at Hyundai and you're coming here for your rotation at the Hyundai plant, or whether you're someone that we want to come and help our healthcare as a doctor or as a nurse practitioner, and you're trying to think of where you go and where you want to enroll your schools, or whether or not you've been a lifelong third or fourth generation Montgomeryan who's never left, where your kids and grandkids and great-grandkids can have a quality education that puts them on par with anyone in this country. That's what the focus should be, and not what to me has been a very short-sighted, narrow-minded approach to getting a superintendent that may be familiar with some, but not acceptable, and not one who is progressive from the standpoint of moving us forward to the whole and to the entire community.
Along the economic development lines, you could just explain a brief history where the tide seems to be turning in terms of blight and demolitions and things finally, because it seems to take forever because I'm sure lawyers are involved, but just where are things in terms of demolitions? We're seeing some real movement now. This is the last couple of months, really.
Listen, no question. Let me give a lot of accolades to the process that it's taken to get to this point. It has literally been several years to try to streamline the process and to try to make sure we're doing things with legal challenges to each and every move we want to make to respond to our citizens' requests that blight be removed from their neighborhoods, that blight be removed from major corridors in the city, and that we have an expedited process to it. So I want to thank our Chief of Staff, Jerry Reed, Kippy Tate, our Planning, Inspection, Permitting, and Engineering Director, what we call PIPE, for really coming together and making sure that we looked at the process and we really looked at how the sausage was being made to try to clean it up and to streamline it so we could respond more effectively. So you've seen a hotel brought down on West South Boulevard. You've seen one brought down on Carmichael Road. And of course, the Governor's House Hotel is one that on the Southern Boulevard has been there for a long time. But I also want to make sure that our inspections department gets their accolades, because they have been very diligent in identifying properties and following up on citizens who are giving us tips, as well as going out themselves and riding street by street, block by block, and looking at some of these properties to bring down those blighted properties. And we've got some more right downtown that we're going to be getting to next. It's been a great last several months as it relates to this, because it's taken a lot of work and a lot of arduous back and forth around legal guidelines and what we can do and how we can do it. But we've also brought this up to our state legislators, and we've gotten cooperation from our local delegation that they are committed to helping us streamline this process even more at the state level, so that moving forward we can respond to our residents more effectively in a more efficient manner, and come back to our development department with plans for rebuilding in many of these spaces and listing these pieces and parcels of land for development. We don't just want to tear down and leave vacant lots. We want to come back and rebuild, whether that's infill housing or whether that's retail or commercial development. We want to make sure that we're taking advantage of the land use that we have in our city. And I think for us, that's a very, very positive opportunity to grow this city's tax base and to make sure we're growing economically as well.
On the public safety matter, the crime stats down, what are those what are they related to in terms of down from year to year, month to month? What are those numbers?
Year to year?
Okay.
Yes, year over year.
Lastly for me, just the 911 center, of course. You've seen the 911 board about alleged mismanagement and a former director being replaced with a claim of being not a qualified person. Is it a legitimate right? And just what's your take on where things stand with 911?
Well, 911 is improving. There's no question about that. We brought in third-party call takers to assist us as we look forward to increasing the pay and increasing the work environment, improving the work environment and increasing the culture there in the 911 operating center. It's a very stressful job. If you type in 911 operators, you're going to see a lot of articles come up from city to city, from big cities to mid-sized cities to small cities about the shortage that we see. It's a very stressful job, and quite frankly, it's a job that disproportionately falls on women to take. And so we're trying to create a better balance and a better work environment for those folks who are dealing with stressful calls each and every hour of the day. And in a city like ours, that can be a lot. This isn't Mayberry. So, you know, you get some calls that really are really hard to deal with. So we're having to make some adjustments, as we had to do with police and fire, in terms of what we're offering people from a compensation standpoint, but also the environment that they're in, giving them a chance to get a mental health break, giving them a chance to kind of decompress after they've had a traumatic call that they have assisted our first responders in getting to. But we're looking at improving that, not only through third-party partners, not only through those that we have working 911, they've been doing a great job, but also through the use of technology and AI and leveraging non-emergency calls and trying to get those to our 311 system so that we aren't tied up. One of the things that we hear, I'm glad you asked this question, about 911 is, well, we get a hold time. Well, unfortunately, when something happens, we all have a cell phone, right? So a family of four has probably usually 4 phones. And whereas we used to have one phone way back in my day in the house, now everybody has a phone. And so what happens, and we're grateful for it, is that the call system gets overwhelmed with someone calling about an accident. We're calling about hearing gunshots. And so they're trying to deal with a multitude of calls about one incident, which we want people to report those things. So we're having now to integrate technology in our system in a way that is going to take time. Certainly it's taking financial investment for us to make sure that we can divert the non-emergency calls while answering those urgent calls and getting our first responders where they need to be. But we certainly recognize the need to continue to improve this system, to improve in this space so that we can be more responsive to our community. And I think by increasing manpower, making sure that we're providing a better work environment with better leadership, making sure that we have more call takers and dispatchers, as well as utilizing technology and AI will result in better outcomes and a more efficient process. We are monitoring that whole time. We're monitoring calls that are dropped. We're monitoring each and everything that comes in there so that we can make sure that any citizen that calls 911 in Montgomery County, and certainly in the city of Montgomery, gets exactly what they need from that response.
In terms of staff numbers, is there a known goal as to what would be ideal? And if so, how close or how far is that in terms of just basic numbers?
Sure. I think for us, we look at, again, making sure that we hire the right people and not just the singular amount of people. We've tried that before under my leadership, and it hasn't worked very well. You have to have the right temperament to take that call. It's not a call center that's calling about a late bill or overdue credit card. It's not someone calling about a magazine subscription. You're taking a traumatic call 9 times out of 10 when someone is really in distress. And there has to be a certain mental makeup, personality makeup to deal with that, a level of patience and professionalism. And we've had good numbers very recently, but what we found was that the quality was not there, and being able to, call in after another to handle those circumstances. And so we have to address performance and evaluate performance in that area, just like we do anything else, whether it's parks and recreation, sanitation, business licenses, or anywhere else. So we certainly want to improve our numbers, but we know that it's more important for us to get the right people with the right temperament, the right mindset who can handle these situations. And that's why in the interim, we'll have third-party support helping us, as well as looking to leverage AI and technology to assist us as we build and go through those personality profiles, and as we go through that training to make sure that we have the right people answering these calls that can be one of life and death.
I got one more just on public safety. You talk about accountability over and over and over again. When we see crimes and we see people charged with crimes, specifically violent crimes, we're able to look and see they've got quite a history already, and they're out on bond or out for some other reason. How important does the accountability factor play in terms of our local judges? Because police are arresting the same people, seemingly. So where's your thought on that?
Well, I think that our judicial system and I probably ought to have a sit down. We've talked about it for a few months, haven't gotten to it, maybe because of some of the changes going over there at the county, as well as things that we've had happen here. But I think there ought to be a discussion. I think our state lawmakers should be talking to our judiciary as well about the bail and bond laws in this state, in particular as it relates to repeat violent offenders. That part is very, very important. And I look forward to having that conversation with them. It's one I've already had with our new district attorney. And I look forward to us sitting down and having that discussion about the role the judicial branch can play, and also the role state lawmakers can play as it relates to these bail and bonds of repeat offenders. I think we've got to tighten some loopholes there. I think we've got to be more active in that space and making sure that if we have somebody that our men and women in the Montgomery Police Department or Montgomery County Sheriff's Department or any of our state and federal parties have gone out and arrested, and we know that they're a threat to the neighborhood and to society, they're not allowed to get back out just by putting up a small percentage of the bail. We have to make sure that people who are repeat offenders, or frequent flyers as they call it in some quarters, are not people who are put back out on the streets when we're asking the neighborhood to partner with us and to give us the type of information that's needed to solve the crimes in the first place. So I think that there's some work for all of us to do. I will take accountability for that and initiate that discussion again with our judicial branch, but also with our legislative delegation about maybe how we bring some of these loopholes to close, or at least we reduce the size of those loopholes as it relates to those that are repeat violent offenders who are trying to get out on bail, who have a bond that they don't have to pour into maybe as much as they should. All right. Well, listen, with that, I want to say thank you again for your work. Thank you for the questions. And I appreciate your patience in working with us. And we look forward to talking with you next time.